Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Ottumwa City Council meeting at 6 o'clock. And I'm going to call the meeting to order, and Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Here.
Councilmember Galloway.
Here.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Here.
Councilmember Hull.
Here.
Councilmember Pope. Mayor Johnson.
Here.
I'm going to do the pledge.
Yes. If everybody would stand, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
The next item is to approve our agenda for tonight's council meeting. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'm going to actually move to amend the agenda and bring item I-4 and I-5 to be presented prior to the public hearing, and then also removal of resolution number 162, 2023 from the table.
Do we have a second?
Mark.
Second. Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
And then we need to approve the agenda. Approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda then as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe.
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway.
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre.
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
The next item on our agenda is the city administrator's report to council and the citizens. So I'm going to turn it over to Phil Rath, our city administrator.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Mayor. We have a couple of items on here, which I believe Mr. Simonson is going to be addressing. But before he does that, I just wanted to quickly remind the council and the public about the pending move next week from City Council over to the depot for the offices on first and second floor. And engineering will be following at a later date from third floor. So that move is scheduled to start on Monday, the 23rd. We are looking at having City Hall closed during that move because people will be moving in and out, and then relocating over at the depot and reopening the temporary City Hall at the depot location the following Monday, the 30th, at our regular hours of 8 a.m. So with that, I will turn it over to Zach Simonson, our Director of Community Development.
Thank you, Phil. Just a couple of things I wanted to report that happened over the last couple of weeks. The first was that Don Krieger did step down from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Don had been on the commission for 28 years, including 10 years as chair, which is a pretty substantial term of service. That's a lot of work that he put in. As chair, he was really a force. He was really attentive to detail. He drove the meetings really well, and we're going to miss him quite a bit in that role. And so we did have a certificate that the mayor did sign to recognize Don for his service, and that was sent over to him and to his family so they can enjoy that. There's 2 vacancies on that commission now, 2 out of 9. So we're still able to have meetings, but if anybody's interested in development and those sorts of things, that's a great commission to serve on.
And Zach, how do they apply for that commission?
I believe that the application for boards and commissions is on the website with instructions for how to submit it. They could also come in, and I'd be happy to get them a copy. The other thing I wanted to report on, we did have a landfill fire on Monday, October 9th at 1 p.m. We've had fires, every once in a while out there, but this one was one of the worst we've had in quite a while. The rural fire department responded quickly, and they did contain the fire without injury to staff, customers, and no damage to equipment or property. I did want to recognize some of the employees for their service that day, especially Mike Munley. He's the groundskeeper of the landfill, and when he became aware of the fire, he really quickly moved to get the spray cover machine and to use that piece of equipment in order to put water on the fire. And that really kept it from spreading. That was a really windy day, and the fire department mentioned to us that if Mike hadn't thought to do that, it would have been a more significant situation than it was. So I wanted to thank Mike for that. And really all the staff on the site did an excellent job that day. Doug Pilcher was the operator at the time the fire started, and he had a quick response to call it in. Gail Roberts was in the scale house. She's the gatekeeper, and she kind of coordinated all the communication, calling the fire department, but also calling DNR and making sure that we had information about the steps to follow. And then Kevin Coons came and used the loader to work with the fire department to pull up material and make sure that everything was extinguished. And then just, of course, recognize Lori Creech, the supervisor that led the staff and kind of gave really clear direction to everybody that day. And just want to say that our staff was really doing an excellent job. And to make sure that it isn't as hard in the future, we are going to do a couple of things in the next few weeks. We're going to work with emergency management to prepare a fire response and prevention plan for the landfill and try to mitigate that fire risk in the ways that we can. The other thing I want to talk about is that even though we don't know the cause of this fire, the most common cause for landfill fires across the country is currently lithium batteries. They get penetrated or equipment rolls over them. They can smolder for a long time and start fire. So it's really important that folks recycle those batteries. They can recycle those at the Ottumwa Recycling Center. You'll find lithium batteries and electronics, e-bikes, tools, all kinds of things. But it's really important to prevent these fires. A landfill fire, if not properly contained, is a really hard fire to fight. It's away from the resources that you need. There's a lot of material that can burn for a long time, and it produces some really hazardous toxic pollutants while it is burning. So really important for everybody to do their part to prevent that risk.
Thank you, Zach.
All right. And lastly, I just wanted to follow up one other item here. At the end of the last meeting, there was a talk about the hydro dam and the city and waterworks working together. I had an opportunity to meet with Tim Albert last week, and we'll continue those talks. I know they had a meeting earlier today that, it may still be going on. I don't know if it's over yet, but we'll continue to talk and see where we can work together on those things. And Tim had also mentioned that he'd like to come before the city council at a meeting and just kind of give some updates on where everything is at in that process for them with the dam and the hydro. And so we'll continue those conversations and try to work for a viable solution for everyone.
Okay, thank you, Phil. The next item on our agenda is where I ask if anyone in the audience wants to speak on any of the agenda items that are on our agenda tonight. Sir, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
There's agendas right there.
Okay, there's some agendas there. And then towards the end of our council meeting, I'll also ask if there's anybody who wants to speak on any items that are not on our agenda tonight. So there'll be another second opportunity for people to speak if they so choose. So I don't hear anybody saying they have any agenda items they want to address tonight. So we're going to go ahead and keep moving forward. And I'll turn it back to Chris.
Resolution number 171, 2023, authorizing Greg Wilson doing business as Integrity Golf Group LLC to subcontract operations of Cedar Creek Golf Course to Adam Wilson. Recommendation: pass and adopt resolution number 171, 2023.
Do we have a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second. Okay, Phil, I believe you're going to take this.
Yes, and I see Greg is here in the audience tonight too, if there's any questions that anyone from the council has. But following our last meeting on October 3rd, Greg had messaged me and said that there was an interest in potentially subcontracting out the remainder of the agreement to Adam Wilson, who I understand is his son, is also has the PGA certification. Adam would be looking to purchase the equipment directly from Greg. That would eliminate the need for the city to purchase any operating equipment. Under section 5.04 of the original agreement, subcontracting is allowed, but with the written approval of the city. This request is presented to the city council for consideration, and if desired, the attached resolution would provide that that written notification. So section 5.04, it talks about parties agree that the contractor shall not subcontract, assign, or delegate all or substantially all of its duties, obligations, or services to be performed under this agreement without prior written approval of the city. In the event that the city approves of any such subcontracting, assignment, or delegation, contractor shall remain solely responsible for managing, directing, and paying the person or persons to whom such responsibilities or obligations are sublet, assigned, or delegated. So it does still have that relationship with the current amended agreement, but would assign those duties in whatever form between Greg Wilson and Adam Wilson if the city would decide to do that. There is still a 5-year renewal term that is available on there. There is a subsequent resolution that could be considered separately there to look to extend that an additional 5 years. But at this moment, it would be to subcontract the remainder of the agreement to Adam Wilson, should the council approve.
Does council have any questions for Phil?
Just to clarify, so the current contract that we have with Mr. Wilson goes until 2028, correct?
Yes, with the extension, yes.
With the,
With the, yeah, so the
not
first
the next
5-year term
resolution, the
ends this
current-
December.
yes.
The city council had previously approved the 5-year extension,
Yes.
the renewal of that, which was a 1-term renewal in the amended agreement. That would take it out through 28.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments for Phil?
I guess from my perspective, just a couple of points to consider. I think the Wilsons have done an amazing job running the golf course to this point. I have zero complaints, and as a matter of fact, everybody that I've talked to said that they've done a wonderful job running the place. But you know, had this happened 2 or 3 years ago, my opinion, I've struggled with this just a little bit, because if this would have happened 2 or 3 years ago when we weren't looking at the possibility of the 5-year extension to take it out to 28, I would say, you know, the city really kind of has the responsibility in good faith to allow the subleasing or subcontracting, whatever you want to call it. But we are at a point now where in any other instance, we would be saying, okay, so this person's saying that they're going to retire, or they're no longer going to extend those services. We need to send it out to RFP. And that's where I struggle just a little bit, because in any other circumstance, we would be saying we need to send it out to RFP, not let's find somebody else within that realm that can do the extension and just go ahead and re-sign the lease with this person, which might ultimately have legal responsibility. But at the same time, they've very actively said that they don't have intention of running the contract, and that's who the city ultimately contracted with to begin with.
So I just have a point of clarification again, and maybe I misunderstood what you said, but the current contract right now is until 2028. That does not include Resolution 172/2023, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then I guess I misunderstood what you're saying.
So he's saying that the current contract, we have a one-time extension that goes from 2023 to 2028. If we move on this tonight, that takes that one extension option out, correct? To 2028.
No, it's already in place.
The city council had previously already approved the renewal out to 2028. It was, I think, a year ago when the irrigation system had to be purchased that Mr. Wilson was purchasing. And so the city council agreed, because there was looking for assurance at that time that he would have that renewal.
Okay.
So
My misunderstanding then.
Yep. The only reason that the 23 term came up was a month ago when it was noticed that Mr. Wilson was looking to retire. And since that time now, since the last meeting, he is asking to be able to subcontract. So it depends upon the council approving that allowance for the subcontracting. And he's
So I
here to
guess-
answer, but
I guess I would retract that part of my statement.
okay.
But it's still, it seems that we're we're not really opening the city itself up to what could be the better, and maybe the Wilsons still are the best options, but we just don't know that right now.
So, and I just want to clarify again, we have a contract currently with Mr. Wilson until 2028, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And so right now, we're just talking about if we would be willing to subcontract. The next resolution would be about extending it 5 years, correct?
An additional 5.
Correct. Yeah. So those two things requests came in at the same time, but they are separate and distinct requests.
So the reason I keep clarifying that is because we have a current contract with Mr. Wilson right now until 2028. And so he is asking, and again, maybe there's some questions for Mr. Wilson in this too, but we have a current contract with Mr. Wilson until 2028. And so he's asking to finish his contract and subcontract that out. So that's what we're looking at right now. We're not talking about the extension, and maybe that we should be talking about them together, because maybe that, and I guess, Mr. Wilson, I would ask this, and maybe it's not appropriate to ask now, maybe I need to wait. But if the council were to say, no, due to Mark's, Councilperson Rowe's points about, are there other people who would like to apply for an RFP, that if we just completed the contract and then we went to an RFP, like, would that still be an option? Like, I guess that's kind of is that kind of what you're talking about too?
Part and parcel, yeah. I mean, if we say that, even if we were going to honor this contract out till 2028, if we say, no, we're not going to give the 5-year extension, are the Wilsons still willing to even fulfill the contract at this point?
To 2028, you mean?
No, to the 2033, which is what it would be if we did the 5-year extension on the next item.
Right. So you're saying with the current agreement that ends 2028, is the subcontracting an option without a 5-year extension on the back?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be a question for Mr. Wilson.
Sure, yeah.
Mr. Wilson, do you
I
want to
think
come
he'd be
up
the best
and
person to answer it.
come to the microphone and answer that question?
Well, the contract is with him.
Yes, I'll answer the question if I can. Can you rephrase the question in a simple term?
Sure. So if we approved the subleasing of the contract that you have now, but denied the 5-year extension in the next motion, would you still be willing to finish out the 5 years on the original?
When you say would you, are you talking about me personally or my company?
Your company.
The sum of money that's involved with acquiring the assets to properly operate the golf course, and you folks know how much that sum is. Can that amount of money be repaid back to whomever, a bank, to the city, in 5 years? I can't, if I was redoing it. If I was a 30-year-old young PGA professional, could I repay that amount of sum in 5 years? I don't think that could happen. And I don't think I honestly don't think if you get any RFPs out there that states that, can you repay this money in 5 years, you'll get 0 applicants. Just a fact. Does that answer your question? Or am I being vague?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Does council have any other questions for Mr. Wilson? Okay, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Is there any further questions for Phil? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
No.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
No.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Tie would fail.
So we don't have Sander here, so that's an absent. 2-2. I think it does.
Yeah, tie vote.
So Phil, can you tell us what just happened? So a tie fails, correct?
Yes, a tie vote would fail.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Resolution number 172, 2023, amending the operating agreement between the City of Ottumwa and Integrity Golf Group LLC to extend for an additional 5 years. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 172, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Heard the recommendation as presented.
Is there a second?
I mean, I can second. I have a question.
Phil's done.
Okay. Okay, Phil, do you have any comments you want to make on this?
With the failure of the first part, this one in a way becomes null and void.
That was my question. Is this null and void now then? I think it would be.
Yeah, I mean,
Vote on it.
Still got voted up and down.
'cause I think without the subcontracting,
Yeah.
then Mr. Wilson was looking to not be moving forward with this. With the current contract. So I'm assuming there's not a purpose in extending out 5 years without the subcontracting. Is that correct?
For me personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you would, please.
Can you repeat that for me, please?
Yeah. Without the approval to subcontract the remainder of the lease, the 5 years moving
Addition.
forward, then there would be no reason to extend an additional 5 years. Are you looking to fulfill the remaining 5 years without subcontracting to Adam?
Me personally.
You personally, or your company? Yeah.
My company would subcontract. Me personally,
Right.
I'm at the age where I need to retire.
Yeah, and that was my assumption, but I didn't want to make that answer for you. So
Yeah.
extending an additional 5 years without being able to subcontract, it's null and void. We wouldn't look to extend 5 years if you're not able to continue with the contract without being able to subcontract.
I think that's a fair statement.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So we still have to vote though. And so even though null and void, we still need to vote.
So is there any other questions from council for Phil? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
I'll second it. And then no.
Wait, I second.
It was already seconded.
I thought it was.
Motion.
Oh, sorry. Then the answer is no.
so no.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, if it's, sorry, you're calling me.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yeah, I guess if it's null and void, then I vote no.
Councilmember McIntyre,
No.
Councilmember Hull.
No.
All right,
Okay,
now to public hearing.
now we'll move back up on the agenda to the public hearing.
This is the time, place, and date set for a public hearing on the authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of notes to evidence the obligation of the city thereunder.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing, and I'll turn it over to Phil Reth, City Administrator.
Okay, so with the failure of the last two resolutions, that brings back the original question in the public hearing and the request to either purchase equipment or to fulfill the obligations of the contract, meaning with the termination of the current agreement, purchasing out the capital assets that have been added to the course over the time. And that would require funds that we don't necessarily have on hand. Looking to give the authority or the ability to borrow not to exceed the $550,000, which would be a sum to purchase equipment and look to and/or pay off the capital assets that have been added to the course. So that's what this public hearing is for. It's leaving all options open as we proceed here with being able to finance the purchase of any obligations that we have, including the operating equipment that had been presented previously.
Does council have any questions for Phil?
So I just want to clarify again for the public and everyone up here too. This 550,000 or asking for this funding is not just for equipment, because now that this other resolution failed, there are things that we are going to have to pay out, like capital improvements, correct?
Correct, yeah. And so subsequent, I believe you pulled it off the table there, the request to purchase. This is not borrowing money. This is just leaving the option open for the possibility of borrowing money should that be necessary. There are other ways to potentially finance or fund the assets we're looking at. It could be an internal loan between departments that would have to be repaid. It could be the future operator that is buying back over time those assets. There's different ways of doing that. But this is that first step of holding a public hearing to provide that option for the city to be able to raise the revenue needed to purchase what either the equipment or capital assets that are under the current agreement.
Do you know what that number for the capital improvements is?
It's laid out in the contract that should the city decide not to purchase the equipment, we would get an appraisal of the capital improvements. Mr. Wilson would get an appraisal of the improvements, and then it would be negotiated what that number is. If we purchase out the equipment as presented in the sale price, one of the things that was stated was that process would go away and be rolled in as part of that total there. So it would not be more than the 500 and change that we had.
Thank you.
Does council have any other questions for Phil? Since this is a public hearing, is there anyone in the audience that has any questions or comments that they want to make? If not, I would go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Resolution number 165, 2023, instituting proceedings to take additional action for the issuance of not to exceed 550,000 general obligation capital loan notes. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 165, 2023.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Move the recommendation as presented.
Second.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Okay, we have no ordinances, so we'll move on to departmental recommendations or reports.
Authorize mayor to prepare and sign a letter of support for the city of Ottumwa to become a host city during the 2024 RAGBRAI. Recommendation: approve support of 2024 RAGBRAI and authorize the mayor to provide a letter indicating this intent.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved. Second.
Okay, Chris will take the roll.
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry. Phil, do you have anything you want to say?
So that's something that was presented to my attention in the mayor's. City received a registration packet to become a host town, and community leaders are completing the application. As part of that application, a letter of support from the hosting community has been requested. Mayor Johnson had agreed to provide that letter with support of the city council. And so
It's in the packet.
yeah, and that is in the packet. I understand we just need to make a change to the letterhead that was used.
We used an old letterhead
Old
for the
letterhead.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I'm not aware of any changes to the letter itself.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe,
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway,
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre,
Yes.
Councilmember Hull.
Yes.
Invoice from Alliant Energy in the amount of $13,833.72 for a new electrical transformer in the Greater Ottumwa Park Campground. Recommendation approved payment to Alliant Energy in the amount of $13,833.72 for a new electrical transformer in the Greater Ottumwa Park Campground.
Is there a motion to approve the recommendation?
Second.
Okay, Gene?
Thank you, Your Honor. On June 21st, 2023, a vehicle struck an electric transformer box in the Ottumwa Park Campground and knocked out power. The transformer was damaged beyond repair. Since this happened at 7 p.m. at night during balloon days, the transformer box had to be repaired immediately. Alliant Energy was called in and had the transformer box replaced and power restored by 11 p.m. The invoice for the repair is attached. The City of Ottumwa's insurance carrier has contacted the insurance company of the vehicle's owner and is seeking full reimbursement for the cost of replacing the transformer.
Does council have any questions for Gene? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Resolution number 164, 2023, approving changes, updates to the compensation handbook. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 164, 2023.
Move
there
the
a mo-
recommendation as presented.
Second.
Okay, Barb?
Thank you, sir. So this would be adding a designation in our compensation handbook for a public director or a director of public works with a professional engineer license and assigning it to grade 15. When we initially did the compensation study, the information that we had provided to Gallagher and the information that we had researched for a director of public works was based on our current, what we currently held and what it was in our current job description, which was that a professional engineering license was not required, along with schooling that was not required. As we've researched it and as we've looked at it and as we have now appointed a new director of public works that does have those qualifications, based on the research that was included within the packet, we have determined that if they have that professional engineering license, we do need to make sure that our compensation accounts for that.
Does council have any questions for Barb? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes,
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Resolution number 167, 2023, awarding the contract and approving the contract bond and certificate of insurance for the asbestos abatement City Hall building project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 167, 2023.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Phil?
Thank you, Mayor. This project is to remove asbestos-containing drywall and tile that's contained throughout City Hall. There's also installation around boilers and pipework and within the air ducts that needs to be removed. This asbestos must be removed before the existing heating and cooling system can be replaced and before first floor renovations can begin. This project was advertised on the City of Ottumwa website and the Master Builders of Iowa website. 3 bids were received and opened by the City of Ottumwa on October 4th. The low bidder is Advanced Environmental Testing and Abatement of Waterloo, Iowa, in the amount of $95,000. Now, this project was originally budgeted at $80,000, but we amended the proposal because of feedback from council that we wanted to remove all the asbestos that we could on this project and not leave anything behind. So it'll need a budget amendment. All the required bonds and insurance are signed and the contracts are on file.
Council have any questions for Phil? At this point, I assume you don't have any idea what the extra asbestos removal is going to cost?
It was about 15,000, so we budgeted for 80, and the winning proposal is 95, which was
Okay.
in line with my
So that does
revised
include
estimate.
the extra.
It was, yeah, so it
Okay.
was in line with the revised estimate. And that's the final price for everything from third floor to the basement.
Okay. Okay, any other questions from council? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Resolution number 170, 2023, accepting the work as final and complete and approving the final pay request for the Water Pollution Control Facility Operations Roof Replacement Project. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 170, 2023.
Is there a recommendation, motion to approve the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Phil.
Thank you, Mayor. So the city council approved the contract to re-roof the water pollution control facility operations building for $163,953 to Foreshore Roofing and Sheet Metal LLC of Des Moines, Iowa via resolution 231-2022 on September 20th, 2022. The contractor has completed all the above referenced work according to the plans and specifications. They have completed all punch list items and have submitted all warranty paperwork. Upon approval, the council will accept this project and authorize final payment and release all retainage. The contract amount, like I said before, was $163,953. Previous payments were $155,755.35. So the final amount due will be $8,197.65.
Does council have any questions for Phil regarding this item? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Resolution number 173, 2023, removing special assessments totaling $10,786 with interest and fees applied to a vacant lot on Hackberry contained in the following resolutions: 252, 2013, 291, 2014, 268, 2015, 286, 2016, 267, 2017, 284, 2018, 266, 2019, 260, 2020, 209, 2021, and 41, 2023. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 173, 2023.
Move the recommendation is presented.
Second.
Okay, Zach.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. The Ottumwa School District is seeking to obtain this lot for the proposed tennis project in the pit. The lot has been mowed by the city for over a decade. Nobody's been maintaining it all, and has accumulated fees for mowing over $10,000, $10,786 with interest and fees. This resolution would remove those assessments if and when the district obtains the deed.
Is there any questions from council for Zach? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
Resolution number 162, 2023, authorizing the purchase of used equipment from Integrity Golf Group, LLC, for golf course operations at Cedar Creek Golf Course. Recommendation pass and adopt resolution number 162, 2023.
Is there a motion for the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Phil, do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, so this was brought up at the last meeting and tabled at that time. When we met on September 12th, we had that work session. There was interest in continuing the future operation of the municipal course at Cedar Creek Golf Course. It's been under the operation of Integrity Golf Group, and over the period of time, they acquired a variety of equipment and other assets necessary to properly operate a golf course. They had offered the city right of first refusal to acquire those assets, and the purchase of the assets that was listed was $519,895.33. List of equipment was included with the initial resolution for reference. And as mentioned, as part of that resolution, that would absorb the capital assets as part of the determination of the agreement as well. So it's including the equipment on the list and any other assets that had been provided by Integrity Golf Group over the time that they've been in operation.
Does council have any questions for Phil?
I do. Administrator Rath, one of the questions I've gotten a couple of times is that the equipment that we're buying is not equipment the city owned prior. It is actually equipment that Integrity Golf Group owns now, correct?
Yeah, so when the agreement first started, there was equipment that the city did own that was worked into that agreement. But what we'd be purchasing back would be equipment that had been purchased by Integrity Golf over the course of the time they have. It shouldn't include any equipment that we already own.
And then if we were to purchase this equipment, it would, in the RFP that is to follow, it would be the same idea that whomever bid on the RFP, the equipment would be like they would get the equipment, but then they would pay us back for it?
Yeah, depending on however we negotiate that, but I would assume a similar arrangement as to what was done previously, that we would have the equipment available for the use and over the course of that, but they would reimburse us for that in basically buying that over time and taking on the insurance and the operation, maintenance, everything else along with that equipment.
Council have any other questions for Phil? If not, Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
No.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
No.
Councilmember Hull?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, now we'll go back up to public forum, and I'll ask if anyone in the audience wants to speak on any item that's not on our agenda tonight. Okay, would you please come to the microphone and give us your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council.
What I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be happy.
Can you identify your name and your address, please? Thank you.
My name's Robert Hubble. I live at 945 West Williams. And I've talked to the chief of police briefly, and we got interrupted, but hopefully we're going to have a couple more meetings, which I'm sure are going to be very good. In 2020, I got out, before 2020, 2000, I was in law enforcement. And then I decided to go to being a truck driver. So I went down to Florida. I got hurt my back. So I was down there and I didn't have anything to do. So I contacted the sheriff's office. And I contacted one sergeant and I started working with him undercover narcotics. And since I've been in Ottumwa, I'm appalled that you have a police department that's good, but they need help. I notice you're real quiet because you got people. Is this a safe city?
Pardon?
Is this a safe city where refugees can come in? And I've heard it was, and I heard it wasn't. Do you know if it is?
Are you designated a safe city?
Yeah, are you designated a safe city?
I don't think Iowa's allowed to have safe cities anymore.
Well, it don't care. I don't care. Because the trash that they're getting into Chicago now is too close to Ottumwa. And if y'all sit here and don't listen, what's it going to take? A kid being out shot on the street? The drug trafficking here is bad. And you got a police department that's busting their ass to try to get it down. But they need more help. Different things that can be invoked to do that is a citizens patrol with a I don't know if you have a reserve police department. That might be something you look into, where you have a reserve officer and a volunteer, or 2 volunteers just riding around. They did this down in Volusia County, Florida, and a lot of things started happening. The drug trafficking started going down, because they didn't know if there was police officers in that car or if there was volunteers. The thing of it is, if you don't do nothing, then don't expect anything. I've seen this happen in Florida. They get into your schools. This is a perfect place for them, folks. You got a junior high, you got elementary kids all around this town. And that's what they use. They use scare tactics. But they're very good at it. They use it to kill their families and whatever it takes. Wake up. They're here. And if you don't believe me, say about midnight, go out around the parks. About 5 weeks ago, I was at Walgreens. And I about had a guy hit me head on trying to get into this place that they were supposed to be selling lunches, I guess. But something caught my attention. He gets out, brings money over to him, and he didn't buy a lunch. He came back with a little plastic bag full of powder, white. Now, I don't know about you, and I don't know about me, but I don't know any hamburger that's white and powdery. Do you, Chief? You ever had a hamburger that's white and powdery? It's here, folks. Don't close your eyes. I've only been here 5 years. I moved down here, figured I was going to retire down here and just get back and take it easy because my family's down here. My first year, I was broken into twice. And I live right across from a church, for God's sake. Our police
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate your comments.
Well, then do something.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak on any non-agenda item this evening? If not, we'll move into any announcements or comments that the mayor or the city council wants to make to the public. And Phil had already mentioned the fact that we're going to be moving next week, the week of the 23rd through the 27th, downtown to the second floor of the depot building. So I won't really get into that. The other thing I wanted to mention, there'll be more information coming out. Last year, we had the Canadian Pacific Holiday Train in Ottumwa on December 3rd. It was on a weekend. It was on a Sunday morning. This year, we've been told they're planning on coming back again now that the Canadian Pacific and the Kansas City Railroad have merged. The tentative date we've been given, but I need to get it confirmed, is November 27th. That's on a Monday. And so we are going to be doing some planning for this holiday train event, and we'll try and make sure we get a firm notice out to the public on the exact date as soon as possible. But for those of you that attended last year, it was a really nice event. There was about 200 people that attended, and it was really a cold Sunday morning. And last year they presented a check of $5,000 to the Food Bank of Iowa. And people are being asked when they attend again this year to bring any kind of donated food items. And there'll be a receptacle there that people can donate food items, non-perishable food items. And of course, that'll all go to the Food Bank of Iowa to turn around and be redistributed out to the various Lord's Cupboards and other shelters in our area. So there'll be more information on that to come, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that that's going to be coming probably a little bit earlier this year towards the end of November. Does any council have any announcements that they would like to make?
I have a couple. As everybody saw in the paper at the end of last week, beginning of this week, I'm not sure, I can't remember which it is, but the ownership of the Alta Vista property, 312 East Alta Vista, which was formerly known as the St. Joseph Hospital property, there was an agreement reached between Blackbird, the city partnership, which consisted of the city of Ottumwa, Wapello County, Greater Ottumwa Development Foundation, and Legacy Foundation, to transfer ownership back to local control. So that has been completed at this point. And I just publicly want to say thank you to Ottumwa Regional Health Center for their work in making this happen, because without the current leadership that's there, this would have never come into fruition. So I publicly want to thank them. And there have been a lot of questions about what the next steps for this property are. And just to let everybody know, we haven't exactly gotten that far yet. We do intend as a group to move fairly quickly on it. We're not going to wait 6 years or 7 years to make that happen. We've already taken some steps to make sure we're cleaning up the lot and So the neighborhood around there should start to see some improvements within the next few weeks on the curb appeal, so to speak, of that property. But we'll be going through the process of what those next steps are going to look like. And a lot of chatter we have seen on what could potentially go in there. And I just want to say that everybody is in full agreement that whatever is ultimately developed on that property, it will without a doubt match the aesthetic of the neighborhood. And there's no intention of doing anything that will devalue any of the property or subject anybody to anything that they haven't seen in that property prior. So we probably won't put a Dollar General there. Maybe a roundabout, I don't know. But seriously, so that's kind of where that sits. So if the general public, especially the neighborhood, could bear with us for just a little bit longer, we're hoping that we can start to see some movement or at least communication with the public in the near future as to what the ultimate development's going to look like and what that timeline could look like. So, and then just a couple of other quick things. There's a League of Women Voters Forum this Thursday evening. So I would personally encourage everybody to come to it or watch it on TV. It's very important for the future of the city. And then obviously to vote on November 7th. We had a slim turnout for the primary. So I would hope to see a heck of a lot more people turn out for the general election.
And the forum will again be here in the council chambers Thursday night.
Also, early voting does open
Yes.
today. Early voting. So if you can't vote on November 7th, then vote early. I just want to remind everyone today is the last day to sign your house up for the Spooky Nights and Lights. We've had a great turnout so far with a lot of excitement. I've gotten emails having people sign up, and I am pleasantly surprised and happy to report that there has been, knock on wood, no negative comments on Facebook about the Spooky Nights and Lights. And just a reminder, you can email me and sign your house up for Spooky Nights and Lights. And from the 25th to the 31st, is that how many days are in October? Thank you. My head hurts. So anyways, the judging will happen, and it will be Chief Farrington, Mayor Johnson, and Councilperson Rowe will be our judges for this year. That's what I got.
Councilmember Hull.
Hull, not Rowe. Hull.
It's the first I've heard.
Mark, did you want to say anything about the bridge dedication next week?
Oh, yes. Thank you for that reminder. Next, back in July, the city council voted unanimously, if memory serves me correctly, for the memorial naming of the Jefferson Street Viaduct to the Skip Stevens Memorial Bridge. And that is part of a larger project. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is because this was actually a communication with the city earlier today. That is part of a city ordinance that allows people to submit with a support of a single council person to submit a memorial in a street for up to 5 years. And that's funded through the people who are actually submitting the application, not taxpayer funds. So all of that background noise, we're really, really proud. There's a lot of people that have put some work into putting together this bridge renaming ceremony. And again, I will say this couldn't have been for a better person and a better steward of the city of Ottumwa. So next Thursday at 5:30 p.m. at the north end of the Jefferson Street Viaduct. That intersection will be closed off for just a little while, and the bridge will be closed off for just a little while. We have a lot of specifically revolving around Skip Stevens. There will be a few things that are very special in remembrance of him that will take place. So we'd encourage everybody to come to that.
Any other announcements by council? Barb, do you have anything?
Yeah, so I just wanted to take a moment and recognize that we do have made an appointment to our Director of Public Works, and Philip Bergmeyer. We have removed the interim from his title, and effective, I believe it was last Monday, Philip is our Director of Public Works for the city.
Congratulations, Phil.
You look pumped.
He'll be more pumped when he gets the pay increase. You've done a wonderful job filling in, and I am very happy that the city went ahead and named you our full-time permanent Public Works Director. So congratulations. Any other announcements by council? If not, is there a motion to adjourn tonight's city council meeting?
So moved.
Chris will take the roll.
Councilmember Rowe?
Yes.
Councilmember Galloway?
Yes.
Councilmember McIntyre?
Yes.
Councilmember Hull?
Yes.
We are adjourned, and thank you, everybody, for coming to tonight's city council meeting. Safe travels home.